Hello, and welcome to the final part to the two-player racing game. In this video, I'll be showing you how to make a racetrack, add the blue race car, add a start and finish line with checkpoints, and how to add the game over screen. So if you have an account, go ahead and log in and load up your project, or if you've been following along by saving your files to your computer, go ahead and find those files and load them up. Okay, so let's begin by making the race course. And how we're going to make a race course in this game is we're going to create a backdrop, and we're going to have the car interact with different colors of the backdrop to add different effects to the game. So let's go ahead and select backdrop, and then we're going to go to the backdrop tab. Now what I'm going to do is draw a rectangle to cover this entire stage area, and we're going to turn it to green. So in our game, what we're going to have is the racetrack, which will be gray, and then we'll have a green area that's going to represent the grass. So when the car hits the grass, it's going to slow down and drive slow, and when it's on the racetrack, it'll accelerate and drive like normal, like we've programmed it. So what I'm going to do is select the square tool, and I'm going to choose a green grass color. So let's turn that up to 100, and that to 100, and let's find a good green. Any green will do. I'm going to say about that right there. I'm going to go up to this corner here and just drag it all the way down to this corner here and let it go over the edges so that way it covers the full stage. Alright, now we have our grass. Let's draw the race course. So I'm going to select the pen tool, or not the pen tool, the brush tool, excuse me, and I'm going to set it to 100 to its maximum because we want to make it wide enough for both our car sprites. Then I'm going to choose a good gray color, so if you turn saturation down to 0 and turn brightness to the gray you like, you'll find a good track color. I'm going to go a little lighter gray. That looks good. We're going to come over here, and we're going to draw a race course. And we want to use the entire stage area, because it's quite small. But when we put it in full screen, it'll be large enough to have a good race. I'm going to start in this corner here. I'm going to start with like a straightaway, and some corners. And we want to test both left and right, so we're going to do a track like that. Now you can see it's sort of off the stage. What I'm going to do is drag that over by selecting the cursor tool, and we're going to grab that and bring it over and center it right on the crosshairs. There we go. Now if you're not happy with a certain area of the track, what you can do is go back to the pen tool, or the brush tool, excuse me, and we can turn its size down to about, let's say 70%, and we're going to change the fill to the green of the grass, and then we can just buff out any of the bumps we don't like. So I'm going to just make this a little bit straighter. There we go. And we add a little bit there. And make this corner a little bit better. And there we go. We have a nice racetrack. Alright, now that we have the race course, we need to program the car to interact with it. Because to make this game fun, we have to have it so that way it challenges the player to stay on the track. So if the player stays on the track, they'll have the fastest race time around the course. So to do that, what I'm going to do is go back to the car sprite. But let's name this backdrop racetrack first. Alright, let's head over to the car sprite, and we're going to go into the code. Now all we need to do is add an if block with some code into the acceleration function to have it interact with the grass. So to do that, what I'm going to do is go to control and grab an if block. Then I'm going to go to sensing and grab if touching color, and we're going to set this block to the green of the grass on the racetrack by using the copy tool here. And what we're going to say is if touching green, set red accel, the variable that's storing the acceleration value of the car, to 1, and then move by red accel steps. So let's head over to variables, and we're going to grab the set variable, place that in the block, and we're going to select red accel, and we're going to say 1. This will make our car only accelerate up to moving 1 speed across the screen, which will make it go really slow. And now we're going to go into motion, and we're going to grab the move block, and then we can go back to variables and grab the red accel variable. Now let me demonstrate to you how the car is going to interact without this block here. So I'm going to click the green flag, and here we go. So as you can see, as I'm driving around the track, if I hit the grass, I don't get a penalty. So in theory, I can just win the race by doing donuts right here, crossing the finish line each time. We don't want that. We want to add some challenge to this game. So I'm going to stop the code here, and I'm going to add this block right on top of the first if block with red excel greater than 6. So I'm going to put it right here above the if and else block. Now when I start the game, if I touch the grass, the car slows down. So that way, it takes a really long time for it to go back around to the start line. So to get the fastest time around this track and to beat your opponent, you have to stay on the racetrack. Okay, now that we have the car working and interacting with the track, what we can do now is add the second race car. And how we're going to do that, so we don't have to rewrite all this code here, we're just going to simply duplicate the red car and upload the blue car sprite. So now make sure your car is set to red car 2, and we're going to go into costumes. And what we're going to do is name this blue car. And then we're going to upload the blue car sprite. Now, the sprites will be available in the description below, or if you've been following along with this video and you've made your own sprites, go ahead and use those ones. So I'm going to click Uploads Costume, and I'm going to navigate into my files somewhere where the blue car is stored. So I'm going to grab that. Now what I'm going to do is delete all of the red car costumes here. Now you'll notice we have the blue car, but it's off center, so we need to fix that. So what we're going to do is convert it to vector first. Then I'm going to select the cursor, and I'm going to center the blue car on the crosshair. And if you notice too, when I uploaded it, it copied the size, so it should be the same size as the red race car. So for me right now, I have it set to 170 pixels. So let's go to the next one, and we're going to convert this to vector and move that and center it. And let's rename these to have better descriptions of their costumes. So we're going to say blue car 1, this will be blue car 2, and let's do that for 3 and 4 as well. So let's center this by converting it to vector, center, and then name this blue car 3. And then we're going to do the same for blue car 4. So blue car 4, make sure to convert to vector. It makes it easier to move. And there we go. Now we have our blue race car. Now we will have to add some code though, because we can't have them both being controlled by the arrow keys. So the code that we're going to have to change for this blue car is adding 3 new variables. So that way it has its own unique timing system and its own unique acceleration system. Now the cool thing is, after you've made this game, you can go back in and you can make one car go faster in a straight line, and you can make the other car turn quicker. That way it adds some variety to the playing of your game. So let's go ahead and do that now. We're going to head over to code, and we're going to go into variables, and we're going to make 3 new variables. We're going to create new time B for the blue car. Oh, and I misspelled time there. And we're going to make sure it's for this sprite only. And then we're going to make old time B for this sprite only. The B stands for blue. And then we're going to make blue excel for blue acceleration. And make sure it's for this sprite only as well. Now that we have that, we just need to change all the red car's variables to the blue car variables. So let's start with the top one here. Now if you'd like to get your blocks to look like this, all you have to do is right click and click clean up blocks, and it'll give you this nice column that organizes all your code blocks. So let's change red excel to blue excel, and we're going to do new time B and old time B. Now if you look here, all you have to do is right click this and you can choose the next variable that you want this to be. So we're going to set this to blue excel, and then we are going to go in here and put this to old time B, and we're going to do new time B, old time B. Now this is quite time consuming, but it's a lot faster than having to go in and reprogram everything from scratch. And let's just keep going. And we're going to double check to make sure everything is working properly. So you always want to check this is a perfect spot for a bug to happen. So let's see, we now have new time B and old time B. And I'm not going to cut the video here. I'm just going to do it over so that way you can see everything happening. So old time B, and we have new time B. And we're going to keep on going. Let's see, old time B. Oh wait, that is a new time B. See right there, I already caused the bug, so let's fix that. And let's do old time B. And we're going to do the same for these here. And if you notice, I kept the blue variables lowercase besides for blue Excel, and this way it makes it easier for you to see, so you're not getting confused between old time and old time B. It's just a fun little trick you can do to make it easier to find the variables you need. And we're going to do that for these here as well. So now you should have everything set to the blue variables. Next, what we're going to do is go in here and we're going to change this to the WASD keys, which some of you may be familiar from other video games. So to go forward, we're going to set this to the W. And then if we want to go right, what we're going to do is set this to D. Let's see, where is the letter D? There we go. And we need to set this variable, of course, to the blue Excel. That blue Excel. And if we want to go left, we're going to say the A key. Then we go through here and turn these also to blue Excel. Now go slow through here. You don't have to rush with this one. It's better just to make it as accurate as possible so your game works. Let's see, where is blue Excel? There we go, and then blue Excel. Now what will happen if we make a mistake here and leave it at red Excel, it's only going to be moving at the same rate as the red car. And we want it so that way players can put in their own input to the game. And now we're going to do the same for this one here. So we are going to set this one to W. And if we want to turn right, we are going to set it to D. And if you have a better scheme that you want to use for controls, you can input any of the keys on your keyboard here. And let's see, we want to turn left, so we're going to say A. And we got to switch these variables around. That way they each have unique accelerations. Let's see, blue Excel. Lots of the blue Excel variables through here. Right, just a few more to change, and then we can try out the car. And blue Excel. All right, now that we have that, let's try out the blue car to make sure it works. So right now we have the red car moving, the blue car is not moving. So let's see what's going on here. And see here, we've already found a bug. Now it's always good to double check your code if things aren't working instead of just undoing everything. So if you notice here, in this first one click block, I didn't set the arrows, or the key up arrow press to the key W pressed instead. And what that means is it won't work unless we hit the up arrow key. So we need to switch this to W. And it's super important to just take a breath and look through your code to find that error. So let's see, here's the other W. Now if we restart that, the blue car should drive. And there we go, we have the blue car running. Now there's a problem with the animation, so let's see if we can fix that. We're going to stop that. And it looks like the new time here is not changing. And also let's name this the blue car, because that's a bit confusing. Just see that is red car. So I'm going to stop this, and something's going on with the new time B. So let's go see what's going on with that in the animation area. So we have animation, and it looks like we haven't set it back to 0. Nope, we have. So there's that. So let's go into old time here, and let's see what's going on. That looks about correct. So we switch to blue car, and here's where it gets interesting. We need to switch the costumes to the other blue car costumes. So we're going to say blue car 1, and then we do blue car 2, and we're going to go down and keep doing until we get to blue car 4. Now we better double check to make sure we have blue car 1 set up here, and we don't. So we want to switch that to blue car 1. Now if we restart it, the animation should work. And it looks like something else is going on. So new time up there is not changing. That's why our animation isn't working. So we have to see why new time isn't changing. So we're going to stop the code here, and we're going to do some debugging where we look for where the error is. So we know new time isn't changing. So let's see why. And I see the mistake right here. So this one's working okay, and that's why the first frame works. But we need to set new time instead of old time, and I've made a mistake here. So let's go ahead and reset all these things. So we have set old time. So anything inside the repeat until needs to be a new time B. So I have new time, new time, new time, and new time. And we set it to 0 here. Now let's just go back up and make sure this is all good. So that looks good. So let's try that again. And there we go. We have our animation working again. So it's really good that you make errors and mistakes and you take time to figure out your bugs. This is the most important skill to learning how to code. Because 50% to almost 80% of the time when you make a piece of code or your own programs, it's all about the debugging. So don't get discouraged. You got this. Alright, so now that we have both cars working, what we need to do is set them to the area we want them to start the race at. So I'm going to have both cars start in this area here. So I'm going to grab the red car. I'm going to place him over here, and I'll place this one over here. Now what we need to do is note their X and Y positions. So this one here is set to minus x18 and minus 123y. So I'm going to set that to their starting position here. So the blue car is going to be minus 118x, and the y is going to be minus 123. Now this will be different values for your racetrack. Now let's go to the red car. And we're going to set this one to also minus 118 so they're on the same line with each other. And we're going to set these values over here to minus 118. And this one to minus 97. Now that we have that, we're going to make another sprite to represent the start and finish line. Okay, now that we have all our cars working and they're in the right start position, let's make a sprite for the starting line. And I'm going to unselect all of these variables so it's not clogging up the screen. So let's head over to choose a sprite tool and select the paint tool. And we're just going to make a rectangle here. So I'm going to make one that's kind of purple. That looks like a good color that will stand out on the racetrack. And we're going to use the square tool again. And I'm just going to draw a rectangle. And let's center that up. Now let's add some text to this to show that it is the start and finish line. So I'm going to go to the text button. And I'm going to say start, hit enter, and finish. Now let's change that to a color that will contrast well with the purple. So I'm just going to say white. White's a good contrast with the purple. And let's select the cursor tool and move that over to the start line. Center that up, and we're going to rotate that to 90 degrees, just about the best we can get to 90. Alright, and then what we are going to do is fill the entire sprite. Now the sprite does look pretty large right now. We're going to shrink that down in a minute. So there's that. Now we're going to move this over to where the start line is supposed to be and line that up. And then we're just going to start shrinking this. But before I do that, let's group it together. So that way they shrink together. So we're going to group that. And now when I click it, we can shrink it together to the right size. I'm going to shrink it down. It's looking good. Keep going until it fits perfect. And then we're going to squish it. And there we go. Now we have a start and finish line sprite. Cool, our start and finish line looks good. So we gotta add some code here. So that way every time the car passes start and finish line, it records the lap and it records that it's past the first checkpoint. Because earlier we discussed that we don't want the car to be able to donut around here and just keep collecting laps and winning. We want both players to have to drive around the whole track. And the way we can do that is by adding checkpoints. And what will happen is every time we pass a checkpoint, so another one of these purple rectangles, it'll increment the checkpoint variable to a certain number. And if we achieve all the checkpoints and then we pass the start and finish, then we can lap. So we can gain a lap. If we don't pass all the checkpoints, we won't gain a lap and we'll have to drive around all over again. So let's head on over to the code area and start that up. So we're going to add code into the sprite that's going to calculate the amount of laps that our cars have traveled. So every time the car passes this and has also accomplished driving through all the checkpoints, it's going to add 1 lap. And then if a car sprite has traveled a certain amount of laps, it's going to broadcast a message saying that that car has won. And it's also going to increment our checkpoint value, because the start and finish will be our first checkpoint. As we discussed earlier, we want our players to have to drive around the whole track. So we're going to add more of these purple rectangles to act as checkpoints. And every time a car passes a checkpoint, it'll increment the checkpoint variable by 1. And once it reaches a certain value, it'll be able to gain a lap. Now, if they don't pass them all, they won't gain a lap, so they'll have to drive back around the track in order to pass all the checkpoints. This will add some more depth to our game. So let's begin. So just like with all sprites, we have to start with the when clicked block and then add a forever loop. Now let's make those 4 variables. We are going to make a lap variable for both the red and blue car and also a variable to collect the red and blue cars' checkpoints that they have passed. So let's start with the laps. We're going to say red lap for the red lap, and then we're going to say blue lap for the blue car. Then we are going to make a blue check for the blue checkpoint value. And we're making these for all sprites because the other checkpoints will have to use these as well. And the red check. Okay, so now we have those. Now we're going to go back in to control and grab 2 if blocks and connect them together and place them in the forever loop. Now these 2 if blocks are going to contain the amount of value or the amount of laps that we have to pass. So in this game we are only going to do 3 laps, but if you want to add more laps later, you just have to add 4 or 5 or however many laps you want inside this area here. So we're going to say if red lap equals 3, broadcast red. If blue lap equals 3, broadcast blue. And when we make the game over screen, we will use those messages to tell the players who has won. So let's do that. So we're going to say the equal button, or the equal operator. We're going to get 2 of those. And we're going to set them both to 3. And then we're going to grab the lap variables. So we have one for the red car, and we have one for the blue car. And let's place those in there. Now we need to go to events and find the broadcast message block. So we're going to grab 2 of those. And we're going to create a new message here. So we're going to say, let's see. We're going to say new message, and we're going to say red. And then with this new message, we're going to say blue. So whoever passes the finish line with 3 laps first will be the winner, and this will broadcast this message to the game over screen, which we'll make in a second. Okay, let's initialize each of the new variables that we've made to 0. So that way when we restart the game, it'll set our laps and our checkpoints to 0. So nothing funny will happen. So let's go over to variables, and we're going to grab a set block, and we're going to duplicate this 3 times. So that way we have 4 blocks in total. Oh, duplicate that way too many times. You only need 4 of these blocks. And just make sure you set each different variable. So we have a blue lap, a red lap, a blue check, and a red check. And we're going to place this right below the one clicked. So it'll be the first thing that happens when we click the green button with the sprite. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to set code in here to increment the lap by 1 and also set the checkpoint to 1 since this is the first checkpoint. So we're going to go and grab from control 2 more if blocks, and we're going to stack them together and place them underneath the broadcast if blocks. So we're going to go to operators, and we're going to need 2 ands and 2 equal operators. So remember, in order to gain a lap, they have to pass all 5 checkpoints. So we're going to say 5. We're also going to say 5 on this one. And we are going to go over to variables and grab blue and red check. So I'm going to grab red check, and here's blue check. So we're going to put that right there. And we're going to place action the first input. My mistake there. And then in order for the sprite to detect if or when a car sprite touches it, we are going to do sensing and use the touching block. So we are going to say touching red car and touching blue car. And we'll put those into the respective blocks. So blue goes with blue and red goes with red. And we're going to place that in here. And then what we're going to do is head on over to the variables and set the lap. So we're going to change blue lap by 1 and change red lap by 1 every time the checkpoint equals 5. And then we're going to set the checkpoint to 1. So that way we can't circle around the finish line and win the game without having to travel the whole track. So we're going to say set blue check to 1, and then we're going to do that for red check. So this is the first checkpoint. Let's see, here is red check, and we're going to set that to 1. So if I start the game now, you'll notice that when my car makes it around the track, it doesn't actually set this to checkpoint 1. So let me demonstrate that to you. So I'm going to drive the red car here and go around the track. Ooh, this is a challenging track. Out of the grass, out of the grass. There we go. Now if I pass the finish line, you'll notice that the red checkpoint didn't increment. And that's because in order for it to increment back to 1, red check has to equal 5. But around the first lap, it won't do that. So what we need to do is add 2 more if blocks. So let's head on over to control. I'm going to grab 2 if blocks. 1 and 2. So what we're going to say is if touching red or blue car, so we're going to grab 2 of these. And we're going to set 1 to red and 1 to blue for both cars. Red car, blue car. And we're going to say set blue check to 1 and set red check to 1. So let's grab the checkpoints here. So we're going to do set blue check to 1. And we're going to set red check to 1. And we're going to place that at the bottom here. All the way at the bottom, right underneath the last if block. Now when I drive the car around the track, it should increment that variable by 1. Yep, changed it to 1. Alright, since we have the start and finish line set up ready to go, let's make the other checkpoints. So we're going to go into sprites and we're going to make a new one. So we're going to select the rectangle tool. And it's already set to the purple we have it. It doesn't have to be the same purple as this, but to keep it consistent, we'll double check. So I'm just going to make another rectangle. And I'm going to copy the fill to match the rectangle that we have over here. Oh, and it looks like this doesn't go all the way over there. So all I'm going to do is go to the sprite, and I'm going to check out its color. So if I copy color over here, we see it's 80, 100, 100. So let's copy that over here. So 80, 100, 100. Cool. So let's switch that to that fill. Oh, we got to select the cursor. And then we're going to do 80, 100, 100. That way our game's nice and consistent. But you could always have this two different colors around the track if you want to make the track look a little more interesting. So let's set that checkpoint to right about there. And we're just going to resize it to make sure it fits. Shrink it down, shrink it down, shrink it down. And we're going to center it again. Move that into place. And then we're going to rotate it. We're just going to keep rotating it until it's in the spot we want it. So yeah, right there. Excellent. Now we're going to add code to this first, and then we're just going to duplicate it across the track, incrementing the numbers for each checkpoint. Alright, let's add some code to the sprite so that way it'll increment the checkpoint value up every time a car passes this checkpoint. And the nice thing is we're just going to reuse the sprite over and over again for the next 3 sprites. All we'll have to do is change the values that are stored in the variables. So we're going to start, like with all sprites, with the when clicked and the forever loop. And we're going to grab 2 if blocks, one for the red car and one for the blue car. Let's go over to operators. We're going to grab an and. We're going to grab 2 of those, one for each car, and 2 equal blocks for each car. That's going to be very similar to what we did with the start line. So let's go to variables, and we're going to grab red checked and blue check. We're going to put those to the equal, and we're going to say if blue check equals 1. I'm going to put that in the second one here. And we're going to say the same thing for red check, because we want to make sure the car has passed the first checkpoint. And then we're going to also say if the car is touching. So we're going to say touching blue car for the blue one. We're going to say red car for the red one. So if the blue car is touching this checkpoint, we're going to want to set the blue check value to 2 because it's already set to 1 here. So let's go ahead to variables, and we're going to get the set block. Now we don't want the increment, we want the set, because this will make the game nice and concrete, and there won't be any way to break the rules of the game. So we're going to grab set, blue lap, or blue check, not lap. We don't want them to have 5 laps, and they just win by driving the full track once. So we're going to say blue check to 2, because we went through the second checkpoint. And we're going to do the same thing for the red checkpoint. And let's see, red check. And we're going to set that one to 2. Now we're going to place that in the forever loop. Now we're just going to simply duplicate this for the next checkpoint and change this to 2 and this to 3, and the same for the red car. So let's do that now. I'm going to go to duplicate, and we're going to move that into place. Now we're going to say right around there, and we'll rotate that one in 1 second. Let's just change the number since we're here. So we're going to say if blue check equals 2, set blue check to 3, and do the same thing for red check. So 2 and 3, and always double check to make sure you're on the right sprite. So let's go ahead and rotate that into place. I'm going to select, and then make sure the cursor tool is selected, just in case. And I'm just going to rotate that until it covers the track. Perfect. Now we're going to duplicate that again. And I'm going to move that to, let's say, right about there, since we won't have to really rotate it. And that seems to be almost equal lengths away. So let's go back to the code. And now we're going to set this one to 3. And then we're going to set this one to 4. And we can do this one more time. And then we can test it out. And, oops, jumped ahead there. We want 3. 3 and 4. Now let's duplicate this one again for the final checkpoint. And let's place that right around there. And we're going to say 4 and 5, and 4, oops, 4, and there's 5, and let's rotate that into place. And there we go. We have all 5 checkpoints. Now it's useful when you're making a video game, if you have a sprite that you have to duplicate over and over again, just write the code for that sprite, and then for the next sprite, after you duplicate it, just change the values to make it act that way. That way it'll make your game making process a little bit easier. Okay, let's just test to make sure that everything's incrementing properly. So let's use the red car here. I'm just going to drive around the track. And as you can see, as I'm driving, the red check value increments. Now the lap should increment. Excellent. Let's try the blue car just to make sure everything is working before we proceed. All the checkpoints are incrementing and the blue lap increments. Excellent. So now we're going to enter the final part where we make the game over screen. And we'll add a cool countdown animation as well. The game over screen is going to contain 2 sprites. The llama from the last game that we made in these tutorials, and a cool countdown animation sprite. So let's go find the llama, and we're going to place the llama in the center of the track. So, oops, I went way too far there. There's the llama. And let's shrink the llama down. I'm going to say 70. That's still quite a tall llama. So let's go to 50. Oh, that's better. Now we're going to go into costumes. And we're going to say, with costume B, we're going to write some text. And we're going to move this llama over. So remember, select all of the llama. We're going to move that llama over. And I'm going to move it down a bit. And let's make that even smaller. I'm going to say maybe 30. Yeah, 30 seems to be a good size. And then we're just going to add text saying the red car has won. So red car wins. And we're going to tell our players how to start again. So red car wins, and then press enter. I'm going to say click green flag to play again. And there we go. Now we're going to move the text over closer to the llama. And we're going to change that to red. I'm going to make it slightly larger because if you see on the stage, you can't even see it. There we go. Now we're going to do the same thing for the Llama C costume. Move Llama C. Oh, don't forget to select everything. And we're going to move that over here. And we're going to say blue car wins. Click the green flag to play again. We'll click over here. Blue car wins. Click the green flag to play again. And we'll add an exclamation mark. And let's switch that text to blue. There we go. And let's make it larger so that way it can be seen. Oh, made that a little bit too big. Let's shrink that down a bit. Oh, still a little too big. There we go. And we'll place that there. Now we'll add some code to the sprite here in a second, but let's go make the next sprite. So we're going to go ahead and come over here. And we are going to go into numbers. So just type numbers. And there's one. And we're going to select 3. And we're going to go to costumes. And we're going to add costumes. So we're going to type in numbers again. And we're going to select 2. And then we're going to add another one. Number 1. And then we're going to paint our own. And we're going to set this one to say go with the text. Just going to type G-O. And let's see if we can find a, there we go. That one matches. Nice pixelated one. And we're going to place that into the center. And let's center out this. I'm going to put this one in the center. Now this is going to disappear when it counts down. So 3, 2, 1, go. And we can make go a little bit bigger here and change its color so it matches the other sprites. Let's lighten that up. There we go. Close enough. Now that we have that, we'll just add some code and the game will be complete. Alright, let's start with animating the 3, 2, 1, go sprite. So let's head over to code and we're going to go to events and we're going to say when clicked. And we're also going to broadcast a new message. And we're going to name this one start. And we're going to use this to edit the code in a second. So I'm going to leave that at the bottom there. And what we are going to do is go and to control, and we're going to grab some of these weight blocks. Now with these weight blocks, we're going to use it to count down, use it as a way to animate and count down the sprite here. And then we're going to go into looks and we're going to grab a show and a switch costume. So let's grab the show block. We're going to attach that first. And we're also going to need a hide block. We'll put that at the bottom. And we're going to grab some change costume blocks. So we're going to go to change costume and we're going to attach that one there. So we're going to say change costume to, let's go and see what the costumes are. We have glow 3, 2, 1, and then costume 1. Okay. So we're going to start with costume glow 3, and then we're going to wait 0.3 seconds. 0.3 seconds. And then we're just going to duplicate this, and we're going to say 2. And duplicate that again. We're going to say 1. And duplicate that. Get rid of the timing one. We're going to say go. And then we're going to hide. And what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the cars and we're going to add something to use this. So that way the game starts on even footing so everyone has a chance to start at the same time. Let's just see what that looks like. 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, and it didn't show the costume because we should add, I guess we do need that, wait 3 seconds. So we're going to go back to control. Wait 0.3 seconds. We're going to attach that. And now if we click it, 3, 2, 1, go. Looks good. I think we can make the go costume a little bit larger. Let's make that a little bit larger. Place that there. And let's try that again. 3, 2, 1, and go. Ah, much better. And we can even add an outline. Let's add a black outline. And that make contrast even better. Perfect. Let's head over to the llama sprite and add the game over screen. So the game over screen will be when the car reaches, whichever car reaches the third lap first, will either show red car wins or blue car wins. So let's go to code and add some of that. So what we're going to grab is when clicked, we're actually going to hide the llama sprite. So that way we can see the 3, 2, 1 countdown. So we're going to go to hide. And then when I receive the message start from the countdown, then I'll show the llama. So when I receive start, we're going to switch the costume to just the regular llama. So switch costume to llama. And then we are going to show the llama. Now, when I receive the message red, so let's see, when I receive the message red, we're going to switch to the llama costume that says red car. So that is llama costume B. So we're going to go back to looks and we're going to say switch costume to llama B. And then we're going to go to control and we're going to end the game. We're going to stop the code so that way they have to click, our players have to click the green flag to play again. So make sure it's set to all. And then we're going to duplicate this. And when I receive the message blue, we'll set it to llama C. And we'll stop all. Now we're almost done. We just have to edit some code in the 2 car sprites and our game is ready to play. Let's head over to the blue car first. Now we're going to replace these when clicked blocks with when I receive start. So let's go ahead and grab 2 of these because there are 2 in each car. So let's go ahead and remove the code from this one clicked. And we're going to save that because we're going to actually use that in a second. I'm going to say when I receive the start message, do this. So we can start driving the car. And we're going to do the same thing with this one. And we can get rid of this one. And what we're going to do is add show to one of these. So we're going to go to looks and we're just going to add show to the animation one. So let's go down here and we'll put show right here. And then with this when clicked, we're going to hide. So the cars are hidden until the countdown ends. So let's see if that works. So we're just going to go here. 3, 2, 1, go. And it looks like, oh, and of course I didn't set this to start. So if it doesn't show up, just double check to make sure you set to start. Let's try that again. 3, 2, 1, go. And the blue car shows. Now let's do that for the red car. So we're going to stop the code first, and we're going to move this one clicked over here. And we're going to go and grab a show and a hide. And let's get rid of this one clicked. I'm going to replace them with when I receive the message start. So let's make sure we definitely put start this time. And that is the animation one, so we also have to add show. And let's go ahead back up to here. And when I receive start, we're going to be able to drive the car. And when clicked, the car will show up. Or the car will hide. So that way the screen is clear until the countdown begins. So let's double check to make sure that works. 3, 2, 1, go. And our cars show up. And they both can drive, so that's a good sign. Now we're going to go into variables, and we're only going to leave the lap ones checked. So let's get rid of the checkpoint ones. And we're going to put red lap over here closest to the arrow keys, and the blue lap closest to the WASD keys. Alright, let's just give this a test to make sure our game works. We have 3, 2, 1, go. We have both cars driving around, so let's see if the red car wins this one. Let's see if the red car works. So we're going to drive around, so that'll be lap 1 for the red car. Let's get lap 2 here. Ooh, that's a tight corner. There's lap 2. We can do one more lap. And the llama should say that red car wins. Yep, red car wins. Now let's try it for the blue car. Oh, that's a really tight corner. It's a good challenge. Alright, there's lap 1. Oh, out of the grass, out of the grass. There we go. Now let's go around this corner. Lap 2. Oh my, I have to work on my left-hand drive skills. And this should show blue car wins. And there we go, our game is complete. So I want to thank you for watching. And there will be links in the description below where you can find the car sprites, where you can find the first video to the series, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.